You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I'm back. Rodrans for Black and White Sports. Let's talk about the Marxist NBA of China. And now there is a report that came out from Digital Music News, and it's in regards to the NBA possibly losing either advertising, lower advertising rates, lower music licensing fees in next season. We called it. We've been saying it. The NBA ratings tanking would affect the business. Them aligning themselves so heavily with China, with a Marxist organization like Black Lives Matter. And the problem is, for so many players that chose to follow suit of their ringleader, LeBron James, a lot of these players, these mid-level players, these lower-tier players, could be severely affected next year. Brian Windhorst was talking about it on Ryan Russillo's podcast. Some of these players have no idea what's actually coming from the standpoint of a drop in revenue because of the damage they did this year. And let me read you what I've got on this Digital Music News article, because it's pretty fascinating. An unexpected, sharp NBA drop in ratings could have substantial ramifications for 2021 advertising rates and music licensing fees, according to industry experts. A substantial and sustained drop in viewership is now causing advertisers to recalibrate their budgets for next year, according to details disclosed this week. In turn, those advertisers are likely to pay substantially lower music licensing and production fees if they remain advertisers at all. Across the board, the NBA ratings have been down, but the crash in viewership for the marquee NBA Finals between the Lakers and the Heat is generated the most concern. And it goes on to talk about how they were particularly concerned that the marquee name of LeBron James was involved and the ratings were still terrible. The numbers, talking about the ratings, those numbers are causing both advertising and music licensing sectors to seriously rethink their positions for next year. In a discussion this week with one prominent advertising agency executive, Digital Music News learned that numerous advertisers, quote, may be hitting pause on the 2021 NBA campaign buys, quote, even if just to renegotiate for some better pricing. That sentiment was echoed by a rival agency, with both actively buying ads across the NBA and other sports entities, franchises, NFL, etc. Both noted that some advertisers are actively considering pulling the plug on NBA advertising in 2021, though the reasons weren't cited. If the downward ratings trend continues, one agency executive noted that, quote, you could see a pretty big plunge in advertising revenue starting next year. The drawback reflects a marked change, with major advertisers typically jockeying for exclusives and plum slots ahead of next season. That is prompting fears of a broader trickle down into music licensing, with payouts to both music creators, direct publishers, and production houses lowered given the broader budget cutbacks. And they talk about how essentially the NBA's ratings almost got beat by the Masked Singer, and how the ratings were the lowest since the Spurs and the Cavs years ago in 2003. And they also cite, others have pointed to NBA's heavy focus on racial justice protests, which could be splitting the audiences. A Harris poll, we did a video on this, the Harris poll found that 40% of viewers are tuning out because the league has become too political. Another 19% cited their associations with China. They did touch a little bit on the fact that this may be an issue in other sports going forward. possibly the NFL, but the NFL ratings, look, even if they're knocked in a third, they're still getting 10 million viewers, which is a damn sight larger than the NBA. The NBA plunged. They let LeBron James drive the bus like he's Freddy Krueger in that one scene at the end of the movie off a cliff or whatever it was. You know, it wasn't Robert England. He pulled back the mask laughing. It was LeBron James screaming Black Lives Matter as he drove the NBA right off the cliff. And we know Adam Silver's trying to pull back now. He's made that public statement about there won't be anything on the floor. There won't be any messaging. There won't be any of that. But the one consistent thing I've seen in the comments section of our channel is, with the NBA particularly, people are done with you forever. You went way too far. And let us not lose sight of the celebration of criminals. The NBA went out of its way to literally have a meeting, shut down games for a day over a rapist named Jacob Blake. If you think that sets well with law-abiding citizens and common-sense Americans, you're wrong, NBA. The China thing sucks. I don't like it. Black Lives Matter, that was a deal breaker for me. But you put that icing on the cake of Jacob Blake, a total monster. You put that on top where you actually did pseudo boycott games and missed days of work over a POS like that. Boy, it's a terrible look for a professional team that's supposed to have a national following. You can't celebrate criminals like that and literally take off work. That tells you right there. And on top of it, you guys are preaching a political message, and then we find out that 80% of you wasn't registered to vote. The NBA looks awful. I mean, they've got 7 things going against it right now. I've said Adam Silver, LeBron James, they ruined the NBA. It's over. And you're starting to see right here lower advertising, lower music licensing fees for next year if the advertisers choose to actually even stay on board. You got to understand, they put in for advertising expecting, okay, the NBA ratings are coming. Even if it falls, they'll get 15 million viewers, right? They got 18, almost 19 million last year. No, they got 5 million and something, 6 million and something. Terrible ratings. Dramatically terrible ratings for the NBA. And look, the long-term future of the league is in jeopardy anyway. Brian Windhorst was saying they cannot come back and do a bubble again. That's why you haven't heard of the next season being announced. They can't afford to do the bubble again. Only one team in the league can survive off television revenue. That's the Lakers. Every other team must have audience gate ticket receipts for the league to live. It is 40 to 60% of the entire income that generates into an NBA team is the gate receipts from attendance in arenas. The NBA has most likely, they may have killed themselves. It's starting to look that way. Tell me what you think, black and white sports fans. The NBA is about to pay the piper, the Pied Piper, for its bad judgment calls. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.